morning, ladies and gentlemen. Before we open this session on global governance and global cooperation, let me just make a short remark concerning the session we had yesterday evening here on Palestine. First, after the session, a joint press conference took place jointly between Prime Minister Erdogan and myself, and also a phone call happened between President Peres and Prime Minister Erdogan. So the incident, you may say, is closed, but I think there's an important learning for all of us in what we have witnessed yesterday evening. When we looked at the passions and the emotions, the world cannot stand by for a longer time. We are sitting on a time bomb, and this time bomb might explode into our faces at any time. So we cannot be just observers. We also have to follow the appeal of the Secretary General of the United Nations to help and to assist the people who are suffering in the region, wherever they are. Now, the World Economic Forum will launch this year under the sponsorship of 3 governments, of smaller but very important countries, countries which have shown in the past how much they are engaged also in global affairs. So we will start an initiative on how to improve global cooperation and global governance. And we will involve into this initiative all forum communities, you, but particularly also our global agenda councils, our network of over 1,000 experts in many different fields. I have the great pleasure to welcome here on the stage the representatives of the 3 sponsoring governments, His Excellency Sheikh Hamad bin Jassim bin Jabr al-Thani, the Prime Minister and Minister of Foreign Affairs of Qatar, Micheline Calmy-Rey, the Federal Councillor of Foreign Affairs of the Swiss Confederation, and Yaacob Ibrahim, the Minister of the Environment and Water Resources of Singapore. And I would like to ask each of those 3 just to share with us some ideas, some thoughts, why looking in a fresh way at the global governance and cooperation system is so important. Your Highness.
I will speak in Arabic, so if you want to use the headphone.
In the name of God, most merciful, most compassionate, ladies and gentlemen, it is my honor and a pleasure for me to participate at this session, this very important session about global cooperation and global governance. This initiative is a very important initiative that comes after we have witnessed this recent global economic crisis. The crisis has underlined the dangers that surround us all. it has become very clear for us that we all are interdependent and that we must all work together in order to face the challenges of the 21st century, especially given the globalization and given the world economic system and the world governance system that we all live within. We all have mutual interests and we have to work together to achieve those mutual interests and not to content ourselves by achieving our individual interests. We live in a globalized world and we need to give our utmost attention to certain aspects such as the economy and financial matters, the environment and many other issues. And I believe that we need to face the challenges and we need to settle our problems by working together, especially given the crisis that we are witnessing and given the transformations that the world has witnessed in the past years, especially ever since World War II ended. We have needs, we have responsibilities, and we need to work together in order to achieve peace and to achieve security for us all. And this security cannot be achieved merely by the use of arms and weapons. I believe that we now in the 21st century cannot keep on working alone. No country can be able to face its challenges alone. Our problems and our difficulties, they cross borders and they are mutual and they require us to provide mutual and common responses. I believe that we need to ensure development because development is a sine qua non. It will be able to help us to achieve our objectives. It is part of a long-term strategy that we can implement in order to do away with wars, in order to put an end to terrorism and to crimes, especially organized crimes. We need to work together, especially in the financial matters, to work together to achieve our mutual development. We must ensure that international laws and legislations are implemented in order to avoid chaos. The United Nations has been established in 1945 in order to help us and to save us from wars. But we all know that now, 60 years after the UN has been established, we all know that the most critical challenges that we face and that we will face in the future are not the challenges of wars and of aggressions. The challenges that we must face encompass poverty, underdevelopment, weapons of mass destruction, economic challenges, organized crime, terrorism, and many others. These are all challenges that we face from certain states as well as from non-state actors. They all undermine our security and our safety as well as the security and safety of our world. This initiative that we are gathered here today to speak about is based on a sound system. It is based on certain rules and principles that aim to help the world to overcome these challenges that cross our borders and that affect us all. They are not limited to one country or to one certain population. Our efforts will concentrate and focus on certain aspects, especially to help avoid the failures of the economic and financial systems and to help specialized agencies to face and to help us face those problems, to provide us with a clear vision and to help us work together in order to achieve a better world for us all. All these aspects, they could, if they are not well tackled, they could undermine our system in the world and they could undermine the stability and sovereignty of certain states. I would like to talk about certain very important points now. First of all, the World Economic Forum is going to focus on this new initiative, which is the Global governance initiative. This is a very important one that is supposed to tackle financial and economic issues, but also development issues. I believe that development issues are very important and are the sine qua non necessary to implement any reforms. My second point is that this attempt is not the first attempt from the World Economic Forum to help reform the world financial and economic system. It is an initiative that we have seen in the past, or that we have seen similar ones to in the past. And I think that the United Nations has also provided us in the past with similar initiatives, especially the one that was launched by Kofi Annan in 2003, the one that led in September 2004 to the establishment of the high-level panel on threats, challenges and change. And that high-level panel issued more than 101 recommendations. My third point is that our efforts must be made in all domains in order to ensure that law prevails over the law of force, and that in order to realize common interests. We should not forget that the current financial crisis has proven that the biggest financial and economical powers were the first victims of this crisis. And even in armed conflicts, it happens very often that the military winners endure massive damage after the end of the conflict and face innumerable problems in human life aspects. My fourth point, which is an established fact, is that the structure of the international community has changed ever since the establishment of the UN. But the vital elements in decision-making have remained captive to the early establishment structures, the structures that prevailed when the UN was established. That explains the many ailments which the international order suffers from, and their catastrophic consequences which extend to the whole international arena. This initiative will provide a chance for reviewing and contemplating what has to be done to repair the flaws and cure the ailments. Yet, any change from a realistic perspective will be contingent on the country's collective political will regarding taking the necessary decisions, and not only dependent on the actors who enjoy this prerogative because they are the victorious powers in the Second World War. Ladies and gentlemen, my fifth and final point is that the outcome of this initiative, as we hope for it to be, will form at least a lobbying factor for change, especially after the massive damage which ensued from the flaws of the prevailing system. These massive damages have affected all members of the international community, including the influential powers. Ladies and gentlemen, in conclusion, I would like to point out that Qatar's conviction of the justifications and urgent need for this initiative are the reasons for accepting to sponsor this initiative in collaboration with Switzerland and Singapore. We look forward to welcoming you at the annual session of this forum in 2010 in Doha in order to issue the final recommendations of this initiative. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Sheikh Hamad. Madam Calmy-Rey.
Thank you, dear Mr. Schwab. Ladies and gentlemen, first of all, I will say that it gives me a great pleasure to be associated with the Global Governance Project. And Switzerland is delighted to be a co-sponsor of this project together with Qatar and Singapore. Ladies and gentlemen, the past months have made it even more obvious. There is a wide gap between the global problems we are facing and the capacity of existing mechanisms and institutions to deal with them. What experts have been saying for years is no common knowledge. Everyone is aware of the fact that the world is becoming more complex and interlinked. At the same time, everything is more accelerated and urgent, and we have less time and less resources to respond to these challenges. New powers and more diverse actors are emerging. They demand a more visible role and stronger involvement in decision-making. A more coordinated and coherent approach is required, yet institutional structures remain fragmented and difficult to reform. Our citizens are demanding that we, the decision-makers, act. A fundamental debate is therefore needed about how to manage global interdependence and structure global governance in the 21st century. Our objective is to rethink global governance by an unprecedented process of discussion and deliberation among all important stakeholders. We want to develop a set of principles and guidelines for the adaptation of global institutions to the challenges of today. And finally, we want, at the end, formulate concrete recommendations regarding not only structures of governance, but also strategies and actions. The World Economic Forum, with its experience and global membership, is the ideal place for such a debate. The forum offers both the multi-stakeholders environment and the informal setting that are needed. Our conclusion will be presented in Davos in 2010, and that will coincide with the 40th anniversary of the forum. But now, let me briefly mention already at that stage some of the key questions that, in my view, will have to be addressed. How can we provide and manage global public goods in an efficient and sustainable way? What decision-making procedures and institutions are needed to allow for a multi-dimensional and inclusive approach, thus creating legitimacy, while at the same time ensuring that decisions are taken in a timely and rapid manner and implemented effectively? How can we strengthen the role of the United Nations in a new system of governance? For it is the only universal organization in terms of membership, norm setting, participation in decision-making, and outreach. And how can we create institutions that are capable of adapting themselves to a constantly changing environment? And how can we find a balance between competing priorities given limiting resources? The expected output of the project will be both systemic and issue-specific recommendations. Regarding the issues, we will have to focus on a limited number of problem areas. In my view, this could be finance and commerce, the environment, health, migration, the management of natural resources. Ladies and gentlemen, I wish to congratulate Professor Schwab and its team at the World Economic Forum for having initiated this project. And it is a timely and ambitious project. It is challenging and stimulating. It is a unique opportunity to engage a wide range of partners in shaping our common future. And I look forward to closely following the work of the experts and to discussing the results and recommendations of the project with you next year. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Mrs. Calmy-Rey. Minister Ibrahim.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, a very good morning to all of you. Singapore is indeed pleased to join both Qatar and Switzerland to be a co-sponsor of the WEF Global Cooperation System Initiative, or GCS for short. This is indeed a timely initiative by the WEF at a time when global institutions are facing an array of challenges. And many of these challenges, such as terrorism, financial turmoil, and climate change, are not new. But in an increasingly interconnected world, the velocity and impact of these developments, as we have all witnessed over the past years, have grown both in intensity and impact. So to effectively deal with these complex transnational challenges, there is a clear need to review our traditional models of global governance. For instance, to overcome the current global financial crisis, which has become a global economic crisis, we need better global governance backed by effective global institutions. And to this end, these institutions need to reflect the realities of today. The institutions established at Bretton Woods after the end of the Second World War clearly need to be updated and upgraded to deal with the realities of a 21st century multipolar reality. And there are neither easy nor short-term solutions. We are more likely to improve global governance by making adjustments which are realistic and incremental. This is where the GCS initiative plays a part in contributing to the debate on global governance for the 21st century. This initiative provides an excellent platform for multiple stakeholders, governments, international organizations, corporations, and other key actors to come together and deliberate on a 21st century vision of a wider global cooperation system. Singapore, as we all know, is a small state, but we're one of the most open economies in the world. Given our interconnectedness with the world, we have a clear interest in global governance. We are therefore honored to be able to contribute towards this meaningful and unique process and share ideas on improving global governance at this critical juncture.
Thank you, Minister. I would like to express great appreciation to the three sponsoring governments for their commitment and sharing into this vision. We will certainly present the results, as the Minister said, at the next annual meeting in Davos. But in the meantime, we will establish a process, a multi-stakeholder process, where you all will be integrated in. And we will use for interaction our new interaction platform, Welcome, which allows continuous multi-point dialogue among you, amongst the different stakeholders of the World Economic Forum. So thank you again very much, and we are looking forward to something which is very exciting and at the same time very necessary. Thank you.